The Galactic Council had convened for a rare and grand summit. Alien species from all corners of the galaxy were present, each with their own vast civilizations, technologies, and powers. The Grand Hall was alive with chatter, a mixture of foreign languages and strange dialects, all buzzing with excitement. At the center of the room, a giant holoscreen flickered to life, displaying images of Earth's primitive spaceships, those outdated, bulky, and slow vessels that humanity had used to reach the stars. Laughter filled the hall as the alien representatives from the various galactic empires looked at the images. The room shook with mocking comments and dismissive gestures. A few aliens pointed at the ships on display, chuckling and exchanging amused glances. Some spoke of how the humans had once believed that these clunky ships were their greatest achievement, while others made crude jokes about their outdated technology. It was clear, to the advanced civilizations of the galaxy, humanity was nothing more than a joke. They laughed at the human attempt to reach the stars, a race that had only recently managed to make its way beyond their solar system. Their ships, made of crude alloys and lacking in any real advanced technology, seemed laughable to these galactic elites who traveled across the galaxy with ease using sleek, powerful starships. The holographic display cycled through pictures of Earth's vessels, a few outdated, heavily armored military ships, barely capable of holding their own against any advanced alien force. Zorak, a towering alien general from a powerful empire known for its vast fleets, was the loudest in the room. His race had conquered countless star systems, and their technology was centuries ahead of anything humanity could dream of. He openly mocked the idea that Earth could ever be a threat. "These primitive humans think they are ready for the stars," Zorak sneered, his voice echoing through the room. "Their ships are nothing more than oversized toys, hardly fit for space travel, let alone combat." The other representatives joined in with laughter, adding their own jabs. Some spoke of the foolishness of humans, thinking they could stand against real threats. Others discussed how easy it would be to crush their so-called space exploration programs. To these aliens, humanity was insignificant, a tiny speck on the galactic map that didn't deserve any real attention. But they were wrong. At the back of the room, standing silently, was Michael Carter, the human ambassador. His posture was calm, almost statuesque, his face betraying little emotion as he listened to the laughter and mockery. He stood in front of the holographic display of Earth's space program, an image that showed humanity's earliest attempts at space exploration, including the first human-made satellite and their first crewed missions to the moon. Carter, however, didn't share in the laughter. He wasn't bothered by the insults being hurled at his people. Instead, he had a knowing look in his eyes, something hidden beneath the calm exterior. While the aliens saw only the outdated technology and laughed at the primitive nature of human spaceships, Carter knew the truth. Humanity had been keeping a secret that would soon be revealed. He had spent years working alongside brilliant scientists and engineers to develop technology far beyond what these aliens could even imagine. What they saw on that screen was just a small fraction of Earth's true power, a fraction that no one in the galaxy was prepared for. He didn't say anything. The room's laughter continued, and Carter's silence was almost as if he was waiting for something. His mind was focused on the plan that had been set in motion long ago. For now, he would let them laugh. They would soon realize how wrong they were. But that time had not yet come. Zorak, growing more confident with each passing minute, leaned forward on the podium. "We should test their strength," he declared loudly, his eyes gleaming with arrogance. "Let's see if these so-called humans can survive against a real power. It will be a simple exercise, a mock battle to prove they are no more than insects in the grand scheme of the galaxy." The room erupted in agreement. The council members cheered for the idea, excited by the thought of humbling these primitive humans once and for all. Earth's space exploration was a joke, and they were going to show it to the galaxy. Zorak suggested a demonstration, an exercise where a few of their fleets would challenge the human forces to see if they could survive even a small confrontation. The aliens had no idea that this so-called exercise would turn into something far greater than they could ever imagine. As the plan was discussed and agreed upon, Carter remained still, his face a mask of composure. But inwardly, he knew that this would be the last time they underestimated Earth. Deep within the shadows of space, Earth's true strength was waiting to be revealed. As the meeting began to wind down, and the council members prepared to leave, a strange signal interrupted the proceedings. The main screen flickered and a cryptic message appeared, written in bold red letters. "They will regret underestimating us." The room fell silent. The message was brief but unsettling, and for a moment, no one could quite grasp its meaning. Who had sent the message? Where had it come from? The council members exchanged confused glances, but before anyone could ask questions or investigate further, the message vanished. A few whispered among themselves, but no one had an answer. Zorak's face darkened. "Do not be fooled by these primitive creatures," he sneered, though even his voice carried a hint of uncertainty now. "Their message means nothing. We will show them their place in the galaxy." But Carter, still standing quietly at the back of the room, knew the truth. The message was not from any alien race. It was a signal from Earth itself. The message was clear. Humanity had been preparing for this moment in secret. They would soon reveal their strength to the galaxy, and the day of reckoning for the Galactic Council was fast approaching. Far beyond the council chambers, hidden deep within the asteroid belt, the fleet that Carter and his team had spent years building was ready. These ships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were sleek, efficient, and far more powerful than the primitive vessels the aliens had mocked. Equipped with cloaking technology, artificial intelligence, and weapons that could obliterate entire fleets in seconds, these ships were humanity's last hope. The fleet had been built in secret, away from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council and its spies. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, far beyond what the galaxy had ever considered possible. The aliens would soon learn the hard way that Earth was not what it seemed. Carter turned and walked out of the chamber, his mind focused on the task ahead. He could feel the weight of the coming conflict pressing on him. The time for diplomacy was over. The time for humanity to stand and show the galaxy what they were capable of had arrived. The mockery of Earth's primitive ships had only just begun to fade, but soon the universe would be forced to acknowledge the power of humanity. And the Galactic Council would regret ever underestimating Earth. As Carter stepped into the corridor, the sound of laughter from the council room still echoed in his ears, but it was now hollow. Soon, the galaxy would hear a new sound, a roar of triumph from a people who had been underestimated for far too long. In the darkness of space, the fleet waited. The countdown had begun. On Earth, deep within the vast, barren regions of the asteroid belt, a secret operation was unfolding, a project so advanced and tightly guarded that only a select few even knew of its existence. Commander Evelyn Rice stood at the center of a massive underground command center, surrounded by rows of scientists and engineers who were working tirelessly on the most critical mission humanity had ever undertaken. For years, Earth had been mocked and belittled by the galactic powers, who saw humans as nothing more than a primitive species with outdated technology. But the truth was far different. Humanity's true strength had been hidden from the rest of the galaxy, prepared in silence, far beyond the reach of alien spies, and Commander Reyes was the one in charge of the most important part of that secret. She was a brilliant strategist, known for her cold resolve and sharp mind. Reyes had risen through the ranks quickly, and now she was at the helm of humanity's greatest military asset. The fleet she commanded was unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. These weren't the clunky, outdated warships the Galactic Council had mocked. No, these ships were the pinnacle of human ingenuity, sleek, powerful, and deadly. They were equipped with cloaking devices, allowing them to vanish from sight, even from the most sophisticated alien sensors. Their artificial intelligence systems were designed to learn and adapt in real time, making them far more efficient and dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever encountered. Rise paced along the command deck, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic displays showing the status of each warship in the fleet. Each ship was outfitted with advanced plasma cannons capable of wiping out entire fleets in a single strike. Their stealth technology was so advanced that even the most sophisticated alien systems couldn't detect them unless they were right on top of them. It was humanity's trump card, the one thing the galactic powers had never anticipated. She could feel the weight of the responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. The mockery of Earth's technology had been a constant source of frustration, but she had always known that they would have the last laugh. Earth had been preparing for this moment for years, in secret, and now it was time to unveil their strength to the galaxy. The time for diplomacy, for pleading their case, was over. Ray stopped in front of a large hologram that displayed the fleet in its entirety, an array of sleek, dark ships, their designs futuristic and intimidating. The ships shimmered as their cloaking devices activated, causing them to blend seamlessly into the darkness of space. They were invisible to the naked eye, and even the most advanced alien sensors would have trouble tracking them. The engineers and scientists around her continued their work, tweaking the final systems, ensuring that each ship was ready for the mission ahead. Rise had worked with them tirelessly, ensuring that every ship, every weapon, every system was perfect. Failure was not an option. She turned to her team, her expression unwavering. "We'll only show our true power once," she said, her voice calm but firm. "And when we do, it will be a message to the galaxy. A message that humanity is not to be underestimated." The room fell silent, the gravity of her words settling in. Rise didn't need to say more. Her team understood. This mission was about more than just defeating an enemy. It was about sending a message to every alien race in the galaxy. They had mocked Earth, dismissed humanity as weak, as primitive. But they would soon realize that humanity was far stronger, far more capable than they had ever imagined. As Reyes spoke, the technicians activated the hologram of the fleet, each ship slowly materializing in the holographic display. The shimmering outlines of the ships appeared, their surfaces gleaming as the cloaking shields flickered on and off, their true forms hidden beneath layers of stealth technology. It was a sight that would make any alien think twice about underestimating humanity. These ships weren't just powerful, they were practically invisible. And once the battle began, the galaxy would never see it coming. Rise stared at the hologram, her gaze intense. "Prepare yourselves," she said quietly, her voice carrying a sense of finality. "This will be humanity's moment to shine, and once we show them what we're capable of, they will never mock us again." The crew members around her nodded, their faces determined. They knew that this mission would change everything. The fleet they had built in secret, using the best technology humanity had developed over the past few decades, was ready. But there was still so much to do. Every detail had to be perfect. The ships, now fully equipped and ready for battle, hovered in the darkness of space, hidden within the depths of the asteroid belt. No one in the galaxy had any idea of what was about to unfold. Not a single alien race had any clue that Earth's true strength was just waiting to be revealed. The tension in the room was palpable. Rise knew that the time for preparation was almost over. Soon, the ships would leave their hidden location and make their way toward the heart of the galaxy, the Galactic Council's domain. There, they would reveal humanity's strength in the most dramatic way possible. They would show the galaxy that Earth was no longer to be ignored. They were no longer the weak, primitive species that the Council had laughed at. They were warriors, and they would make sure that the universe knew it. Rise took one last look at the hologram, her eyes scanning the fleet. "It's time," she muttered, almost to herself. She had no doubt that their actions would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The Galactic Council, the aliens who had mocked them, would soon learn just how wrong they were about humanity. With a determined nod, she turned to her team. "Activate the cloaking systems," she ordered. The room hummed to life as the final systems were activated. The ships in the hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving only their shimmering silhouettes behind. It was a quiet, powerful moment. The fleet was ready. As the last ship disappeared from the holographic display, Rice took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. She had done everything she could. Now, the only thing left was to let the galaxy see the full extent of humanity's hidden strength. The camera in the command room zoomed in on the cloaked ships, their forms almost invisible against the backdrop of space. These ships were ready to show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The fleet was prepared, the plan set in motion. But the galaxy still had no idea what was coming. Soon, they would find out. And when they did, they would regret ever underestimating humanity. With the fleet cloaked in silence, the camera cut to the vast expanse of space, the ships disappearing into the darkness as the countdown to humanity's greatest revelation began. The tension in the command center was palpable as the Galactic Council's fleet made its move. Earth had no idea what was coming. The aliens had planned what they thought would be a simple test, a mock assault to demonstrate their superiority over humanity. The exercise, they believed, would be a piece of cake. Little did they know, Earth was not as unprepared as they thought. The first wave of the alien fleet arrived with an explosion of energy. Massive warships, sleek and deadly, gliding through the void of space like predators hunting their prey. These ships, equipped with hyper-advanced weapons and shields, tore through the space between the stars with ease. The Galactic Council's generals were confident in their superiority, and their arrogance was about to be proven in the most brutal way. But the humans had a different plan. On Earth's outer colonies, a fleet of decoy ships had been hastily assembled. These ships were old, outdated, and nothing compared to the power of the alien armada. However, they served their purpose, to draw the aliens into a trap. The humans were counting on something far beyond the decoys themselves. They just had to survive long enough to show the galaxy what they were really made of. As the alien fleet advanced, their weapons powered up, and the battle began. Plasma blasts lit up the darkness of space as the alien ships unleashed wave after wave of destruction on the decoy fleet. Each shot from the aliens struck with precision, cutting through the decoy ships like a hot knife through butter. Explosions erupted in the void as the ships were torn apart, but the alien fleet showed no mercy, only relentless destruction. Inside the human command center, Commander Reyes stood frozen, watching the events unfold on the large holographic screen. The decoy ships were no match for the alien technology, and the humans knew it. Rice clenched her fists, knowing that the decoys were only meant to buy time. They needed to activate their real fleet, the one hidden in the shadows, for their plan to succeed. But as the decoys took hit after hit, there was a growing sense of dread among the soldiers. Every time one of the ships was destroyed, a small part of their hope died with it. In the command center, the crew tried to stay focused, their eyes glued to the screen, but the reality of the situation was sinking in. The aliens were too powerful. There was no way humanity could win this fight. Among the soldiers was Bonner, a young man who had been through countless missions and survived countless dangers. But this was different. The stakes were higher than they had ever been. As the decoy ships continued to fall, Bonner's face grew pale. Sweat dripped from his forehead, and his hands trembled slightly as he gripped the controls. He knew what was at stake, the survival of humanity. If they failed, Earth would be wiped out, and billions of lives would be lost. The countdown to activating the real fleet was ticking down, but every second felt like an eternity. Bonner's mind raced as he watched the decoy ships being decimated, the soldiers aboard each one fighting desperately to hold on. He could hear the crackle of the comms, the shouts of soldiers from the decoy fleet as they made their final stand. Their voices echoed in his mind, their bravery inspiring him, but also filling him with fear. Then, Disaster struck. One of the decoy ships took a direct hit from the alien fleet's main cannon. The blast sent it spiraling out of control, and Bonner could see the explosion in vivid detail on the screen. His heart sank as he realized that they were losing. There was no way the decoy fleet would hold up much longer. But Bonner wasn't ready to give up. He knew the sacrifice that would have to be made for the greater good. With a steely resolve, he made a decision. He would make sure the real fleet had enough time to activate, even if it meant giving his life. "Commander Reyes," Bonner said, his voice tight with emotion, "I'll buy you the time you need. Activate the fleet when you can." Reyes turned to him, her eyes filled with a mix of admiration and fear. "Bonner, no." But Bonner didn't wait for her to finish. Without another word, he turned and launched his own ship toward the heart of the alien fleet. His ship wasn't equipped for a fight against the alien warships, but he wasn't trying to win. He was trying to buy enough time for the real fleet to activate. As he flew toward the heart of the alien assault, Bonner's heart pounded in his chest. The decoy ships were falling apart around him. And he knew that this was a one-way mission. The aliens would see him coming, but he wasn't afraid. He knew that this was his duty, his final act to ensure humanity's survival. With a final defiant cry, Bonner collided with an alien warship, detonating his ship in a brilliant explosion. The blast sent shockwaves through the alien fleet, causing a momentary disruption in their systems. The alien ships staggered, their momentum briefly halted as they tried to regain control. It was a small victory in a sea of losses, but it was enough. Back in the command center, the team watched in stunned silence as Bonner's sacrifice played out on the holographic screen. The weight of his death hit the soldiers hard. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the sound of Reyes's voice. "We can't let him die in vain," she muttered, her voice barely a whisper. "Activate the fleet. Now." The time had come. Bonner's selfless sacrifice had bought them the time they needed. And now it was time to unleash humanity's true strength. The alien forces, seeing that the humans were now vulnerable, prepared for the final strike. Their ships positioned themselves for the kill, their weapons ready to fire. The decoy fleet was no more, and Earth's defenses seemed non-existent. The aliens were about to finish what they had started. But then, just as the alien forces prepared to deliver the final blow, something strange began to happen. The space around the human fleet began to shimmer, as if reality itself was distorting. The ships that had once been invisible in the asteroid belt slowly began to decloak. First one, then another. The sleek, dark ships emerged from the shadows, their cloaking shields deactivating with a quiet hum. The alien fleet was frozen in shock. They had been so confident in their victory, so sure of humanity's defeat. But now, as the human fleet materialized in front of them, they realized they had made a terrible mistake. The ships were not decoys. These were the real warships, and they were far more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. As the human ships emerged, their plasma cannons charging up, the air crackled with tension. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Humanity was no longer the underdog. They were ready to show the galaxy their true strength. And the Galactic Council would soon learn the price of underestimating Earth. The moment of reckoning had arrived. The galactic battlefield, once dominated by the might of the alien forces, was now about to be turned on its head. As the cloaked human warships began to decloak, the aliens' confidence quickly turned to disbelief. The quiet hum of the cloaking shields flickered out of existence, and one by one, sleek, highly advanced human ships emerged from the depths of space. The alien fleet, so sure of their superiority just moments ago, was now caught completely off guard. They had expected to crush the weak humans, but now they were face to face with a force unlike anything they had ever encountered. The human ships weren't just advanced, they were beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Powerful, nimble, and armed with the latest technology, they began to appear like shadows in the night, glowing with an eerie blue plasma that illuminated the vastness of space. The first shots rang out almost immediately. Laser beams from the human ships lit up the dark void, striking alien warships with pinpoint accuracy. The plasma cannons fired in rapid succession, their fiery bolts tearing into the hulls of the alien ships. Explosions erupted across the battlefield as the human fleet fired wave after wave of missiles, systematically dismantling the once dominant alien warships. The sounds of warfare, screeching metal, deafening blasts, and distant cries of destruction filled the air, all while the human ships maneuvered with incredible speed, avoiding the counterattacks of the now panicked alien forces. The scale of the destruction was massive, but it was only the beginning. The human fleet moved as one, a well-coordinated force that seemed to anticipate every move the alien fleet made. Human tactics, honed through years of preparation and secrecy, proved to be more than a match for the alien arrogance. They weren't the weak species the aliens had once thought them to be. They were a force to be reckoned with. In the heart of the chaos, Commander Evelyn Rice watched the battle unfold from her flagship, her eyes narrowed with focused intensity. She knew this was their moment. They had fought in silence, hidden in the shadows, and now they were ready to show the galaxy what humanity could do. She had been calm, even during the darkest times, but now, as the human fleet began to dismantle the alien forces, a sense of pride filled her heart. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for their place in the galaxy. On the battlefield, the aliens were struggling to regroup. Their superior technology had been turned against them, and their arrogance had blinded them to the true power of humanity. The human ships were not only more advanced, but they also fought with a fierce determination. Each shot fired from the human fleet felt like a statement. Each missile launched like a declaration of defiance. They weren't fighting just for themselves. They were fighting for Earth, for their families, for everything they held dear. But despite the overwhelming power of the human fleet, one alien force refused to back down. General Zorak, the commander of the Galactic Council's flagship. Zorak had been the one who had mocked humanity at the beginning, the one who had called them weak. He had underestimated them, but now, as his flagship took direct hits from the human fleet, he was determined to fight until the end. His ship was heavily damaged, but he was not ready to surrender. His pride would not allow it. Humanity will fall. Zorak roared, his voice filled with fury as he stared out at the battle unfolding. You will all be crushed beneath the weight of the galaxy's might. This war is not over. Reyes watched him from a holographic feed, her expression cool and resolute. She could hear the anger in Zorak's voice, but it didn't faze her. She knew exactly what she had to do. Zorak, Reyes replied calmly, her voice steady. You started this war. Now, it ends. The command was given, and with the flick of a switch, the human fleet directed its firepower towards Zorak's flagship. The once mighty alien vessel, massive and imposing, now seemed small and vulnerable in comparison to the fury of the human assault. The plasma cannons fired, striking the flagship's shields and battering the alien defenses. The alien ships surrounding Zorak's flagship attempted to shield their leader's vessel, but they were quickly overwhelmed by the relentless power of the human fleet. The alien forces attempted to regroup, but their pride had led them into a trap. They had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now they were paying the price. Explosions rocked the alien flagship as the human fleet focused their firepower on it, each strike eroding the once impenetrable shields. The alien fleet began to fall apart, their coordinated efforts slipping into chaos. The alien generals were in disarray, their command structure breaking down as their ships were systematically torn apart by the human assault. Inside Zorak's flagship, panic spread among the alien forces. The ship was no longer the invincible fortress it had once been. The hull groaned under the assault, and the lights flickered as internal systems began to fail. Zorak himself, standing in the command center, watched in horror as his fleet was torn to pieces. His once grand vision of victory was now crumbling before his eyes. But even as his flagship was nearing its breaking point, Zorak refused to accept defeat. "We will not surrender," he shouted, slamming his fist down on the console. "We will fight to the last ship." Reyes, watching the unfolding chaos, gave a nod to her crew. "Bring it down," she ordered, her voice calm but unwavering. "Let's end this." With a final barrage of plasma fire, the human fleet unleashed everything they had left. The flagship of Zorak, once the pride of the Galactic Council, was hit by a barrage of missile fire, plasma blasts, and laser beams. The massive ship shuddered under the weight of the assault, its shields finally giving way under the relentless barrage. Explosions erupted from within, and Zorak's flagship began to disintegrate, its once glorious form breaking apart in a fiery blaze. Zorak's final words were lost to the vast emptiness of space, drowned out by the explosion of his flagship. His pride had led to his undoing, and in the end, it was humanity's strength, unity, and determination that had triumphed. As the dust settled, and the final remnants of the alien fleet were obliterated, the human fleet stood victorious. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The galaxy had been forced to acknowledge humanity's strength. But what would happen next? Would the aliens learn from this defeat, or would they seek revenge? The answers remain to be seen. But for now, humanity had proven that they were not the weak species the galaxy had once thought them to be. They had shown their true power, and no one would ever underestimate them again. The remaining forces of the Galactic Council, battered and bruised from the earlier clashes, had regrouped and entered Earth's orbit for one last stand. The space around Earth had become a war zone, with explosions lighting up the darkness of space. Debris from destroyed ships floated like confetti, evidence of the fierce battle that had unfolded. Humanity's fleet, although victorious so far, was far from unscathed, and both sides were pushing themselves to the limits in this climactic showdown. The sky was alive with chaos. Human warships, their hulls scorched from previous combat, maneuvered with deadly precision, locking onto alien targets. Plasma cannons fired in rapid succession, their glowing blue bolts streaking across space. Alien warships retaliated with their own powerful lasers, sending blasts of energy that ricocheted off the hulls of the human ships. The distant hum of engines mixed with the roar of explosions, creating a symphony of destruction as both sides fought to control the outcome. Amid the chaos, Commander Evelyn Reyes stood at the helm of the flagship, her steely eyes fixed on the battle unfolding before her. She had seen many battles in her life, but none like this. This was more than just a war. This was humanity's final stand, their chance to show the galaxy who they really were. She clenched her fists, her focus unshakable. There was no turning back now. This battle would define the future of Earth and her people. As the fight raged on, the human fleet slowly began to gain the upper hand. Alien ships, once so confident and powerful, now struggled to keep up with the relentless offensive of humanity's fleet. The human forces were no longer just defending. They were attacking with a fury that had been building for years in secret. The aliens had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. But even in the face of their losses, the aliens weren't going to give up without a fight. The remaining ships in the Galactic Council's fleet were determined to push through. Among them was Zorak's flagship, still intact, though battered from the earlier assault. The alien general had made it clear he wouldn't retreat, and he had one last trick up his sleeve. Reinforcements were on their way. Another wave of advanced ships that could turn the tide of battle in the Council's favor. Reyes knew that the battle wasn't over yet. She had one last obstacle to overcome, the final wave of alien reinforcements. If they didn't stop it, the Galactic Council would regroup and attack Earth once more. The fate of humanity was still in the balance. That's when Lieutenant Jackson, one of the bravest soldiers in the human fleet, stepped forward. He had been part of the operation from the very beginning, and he understood the stakes better than anyone. "Commander, give me a shot at their reinforcements," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding him. Reyes hesitated, knowing what it would cost. Jackson, no, it's too dangerous. I know what's at stake. We end this now, or they'll come back stronger, Jackson replied. There was no fear in his eyes, only resolve. With a grim nod, Rise gave him the go-ahead. Jackson and his team boarded one of the human assault ships, prepared to take on the alien reinforcements head-on. The ship rocketed toward the alien fleet, dodging plasma fire as it drew closer to the incoming ships. The alien fleet, unaware of the impending attack, was still regrouping when Jackson's team made their move. With expert precision, they launched a devastating assault, targeting key sections of the reinforcements. Explosions erupted as the alien ships took hit after hit. Jackson and his team fought like there was no tomorrow, knowing that their sacrifice would be the turning point in the battle. They disabled the alien ships one by one, buying time for the human fleet to focus on the remaining forces. But Jackson's ship took a heavy blow during the assault. The engines sputtered, and alarms blared as the vessel began to break apart. Jackson knew it was the end, but he didn't hesitate. He activated the ship's self-destruct mechanism, ensuring that the alien reinforcements would never reach Earth. The explosion was massive, the shockwave rippling through the battlefield. The alien reinforcements were completely wiped out, their ships reduced to fiery debris. Humanity's fleet had won a decisive victory, but at a great cost. Jackson's sacrifice had ensured that Earth would survive, but it was a painful reminder of what the soldiers were willing to do to protect their home. As the battle continued, the focus shifted back to Zorak's flagship. The alien general, now enraged and desperate, had no choice but to face the human forces directly. His pride had led him to this point, and he wasn't about to back down. He commanded his remaining forces to protect his ship at all costs. On board the human flagship, Rise knew that the final blow was approaching. She had to end this battle once and for all. She gave the order for a full-scale assault on Zorak's flagship. The remaining human ships moved in, firing their weapons with deadly accuracy. Zorak's ship retaliated, launching everything it had in a last-ditch effort to survive. The two forces collided in a final clash of might, with the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Zorak's ship, now heavily damaged, tried to fight back with all its remaining power, but the human fleet was relentless. With each attack, they chipped away at the alien flagship, slowly rendering it useless. The once imposing ship now looked like a floating wreck, its shields cracked and its weapons failing. Then, in a final act of defiance, Zorak made his last stand. He led his remaining forces in a desperate hand-to-hand assault against the human soldiers boarding his ship. The humans fought with everything they had, not just for their lives, but for the survival of their entire species. The alien forces were strong, but the human soldiers were driven by a deep sense of purpose, a desire to protect their homes and their loved ones. The fighting was fierce, with soldiers clashing in narrow hallways, weapons drawn and fists flying. But it wasn't just strength that won the day. It was the unbreakable spirit of the humans. Zorak and his forces fought with desperation, but the humans fought with everything they had left. The tide had turned, and the end was near. As the battle reached its peak, Zorak was cornered in the heart of his flagship. His once mighty forces had been decimated, and there was nowhere left for him to run. In a final act of defiance, he attempted to launch a last-ditch attack on Earth, but it was too late. A human soldier, driven by the memory of all those who had fallen, took the final shot. Zorak's flagship erupted in a massive explosion, signaling the end of the Galactic Council's reign. With his death, the remaining alien forces realized that they had lost. There was no coming back from this. The human fleet stood victorious. The remnants of the alien forces, broken and leaderless, retreated, knowing that they could never again underestimate humanity. Earth had shown them the full extent of human power, their strength, their unity, and their will to fight for survival. The final battle was over. Humanity had proven its place in the galaxy, but as the dust settled and the battle came to an end, one thing was clear. Earth had not only survived, but had emerged stronger than ever before. The galaxy would never forget the power of humanity. The battlefield above Earth, once filled with the chaos of explosions and the hum of battle, was now eerily quiet. What was left of the alien forces floated like lifeless husks in space, their warships shattered and drifting aimlessly. Humanity's fleet, battered but victorious, hovered in the void, a symbol of their triumph. The bright, glimmering hulls of the human ships stood tall against the wreckage, their weapons now silent, their missions complete. Commander Evelyn Reyes stood on the bridge of the flagship, her eyes staring out at the remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet. There was no time for celebration. There was only the overwhelming weight of what had been achieved. Earth had not only survived, but it had defeated the might of a galactic empire that had once thought them insignificant. Humanity had proven itself, and in doing so, it had awakened something deep within the galaxy, a sense of awe and fear. The war was over, but the story of humanity's rise was far from finished.